It seems like we would put a health challenge in our way as a way to kind of shake things up and get us out of our comfort zone. It would be the quickest way, right? Because when it becomes life and death, it's like, okay, now you have to take an action.
That's not even a question. You got it. That's exactly right. Okay. If there wasn't change, Justin, the next data point on our life plan would never be able to come up into the screen of our consciousness, and there would be no evolution. And that's why we say, and that's a deeper, much deeper metaphysical truth when we say, the only constant is change. Well, absolutely, the only constant is change. But now we actually know why, because we would not be evolving our consciousness with the great efficacy if there wasn't change happening to allow the next data point in our life plan that's placed there for our own evolution. That's really the point. So the more that we live in our comfort zone, the less that we're actually evolving. Comfort zone is our death. Our comfort zone is our death. That means we've stopped evolving. And that's why certain things come up in our life. Oh my God, out of the blue, I lost my job, or my relationship ended, or I got incredibly sick. Yeah, absolutely. We put those things there so we continue to evolve. That's the reason. We'd never take the next step in our life plan if there was no change. And of course, the ego mind detests change, right? Because it's a creature, it's literally the summation of our habits, and those habits are the identifications that we've made. And that's why the ego mind identity, the human character, hates change, because it disrupts its habitual patterns, the things that it feels that it identifies with and therefore connected to. So, right, I got triggered because, oh my God, I have to make this change. No, your ego mind might have gotten triggered, but it's the I am, the real you, craves experience. So it starts to understand the depth of itself and its limitless nature. And it can only understand that through experience. So it's essential for the next data point to appear within our life plan so we can continue to evolve our consciousness with the greatest efficacy.
It's kind of like a movie, right, RJ? And so if we viewed our own personal experience as like the viewer of it rather than the person that's actually in it, that maybe that's kind of the detachment in the space that would allow us to see it as our evolution. And you know what I mean?
That's exactly right. That level of detachment. Notice the key is detachment to gain discernment and proper perspective, right? The part of from my perspective, part of the issue is that we're viewing everything from a human perspective. Now I understand why we're viewing things from a human perspective, because we're having a human experience, but we're not human. It's a temporary experience. Now, once we can detach, right, we'll start to understand how to discern through the detachment, and we will see things in a much more deep and holistic nature, and we'll understand why these things are occurring, and therefore we'll be able to work with our incarnation in a much more holistic, peaceful, joyous, purposeful, and courageous way. But when we're mired in the human perspective doesn't understand anything. It doesn't. That's why the human mind, the egoic mind, constantly wants more and more and more information. It's to try to balance out its profound ignorance. The ego mind identity is bankrupt. It doesn't actually know anything. It just memorizes data. It has no intrinsic knowingness of anything. And then the things that we memorize, we lay claim to and identify with it, which creates vanity. And that's what essentially the intellect has been used for. And that's why it's deified, because it's easily manipulated and controlled based upon what information is put out within the physical sensory realm. That's why wisdom is the towering presence that stands over and beyond the petulant child that is the intellect. And it's only through discernment and detachment, by having that higher consciousness perspective that you're talking about, that we'll cease to see things from a human perspective, and we'll start to see things from what it is that created the human experience. Right? We're so obsessed with big beginnings and endings, the beginning of the incarnation and the end of the incarnation, the beginning of a civilization, the end of a civilization. What gives birth to beginnings and endings? When we start to tap into that, then we'll start to taste who and what we really are, a limitless creator being.